Technique 30, tight transitions. Here's a little breakfast humor for you. What's the best day to eat bacon and eggs? Friday. Transitions for students are super important. You need to have quick and routine transitions that students can execute without extensive narration by the teacher. This is a critical piece of any highly effective classroom. When we talk about transitions, we're talking about times when students move from place to place or activity to activity. Lining up for lunch is a perfect example. Transition time is a necessity. It's something that we need to plan for in our activities. But I think we can do it much more efficiently. We have to remember that every moment spent in transition is a moment not spent learning. Transitions happen at every school and at every grade level. But no matter where you are, they still have a tremendous influence on the learning that happens before them and after them. Cutting down the time that you spend in transition automatically increases the amount of classroom time at your disposal. Cutting down your transition time gives you an opportunity to increase the scarcest and most important resource, your classroom teaching time. Bad transitions are often the difference between getting through an exciting lesson and running out of time. This is important because this outcome means that you failed to complete critical summative activities, like recapping and reviewing the lesson or introducing homework. Losing the last 3 minutes of a lesson undercuts the entire lesson. Bad and messy transitions not only sap your classroom time, but they're also an invitation to disruptions and conflicts that continue to undercut the classroom environment, even after class has started. The price to be paid for poor transitions is high, and effective procedures are the only way to ensure smooth and speedy transitions. Teachers should seek to practice transitions the same way every time, until students can follow through as a matter of habit. You need to practice transitions until every student knows and understands procedures without having to be told. When you take a road trip, you use a GPS. This route has been engineered for maximum effectiveness. You need to do the same thing with the transitions in your classroom. Once you've found the perfect path, your students should follow that path every time. They need to practice under your watchful eye, and often multiple times a day. Now, your instincts will tell you that you're wasting your time, but in my experience, the opposite is true. Look at it as if you're making an investment. You'll save hours and hours over the course of the year by investing an extra 5 or 10 minutes for the first few days of school. To teach effective transitions, you should be scaffolding the steps in the transition. That means you teach them to follow their route one step at a time. One especially effective way to do this is to number your steps. Now, I do this with my 3rd grade class. I tell them, students, when I say 1, please stand up and push in your chairs. When I say 2, please turn to face the door. When I say 3, please follow your line leader to the place to line up. Now, once you've done that, you merely have to call the number for the appropriate step. And after a little while, you simply tell your students, please line up. Remember, these are 3rd grade students. It will not take one lesson, it will not take one day, 1 week. It will take several weeks for these transitions to tighten up. Moving students around a hallway is one of the most difficult tasks I face as a teacher. However, there is a good method to use called point-to-point movement or point-to-point walking. In this technique, you identify a location or an action, and students move to that point and stop. So for example, you might say, please walk to the end of the hallway and stop there. The key to these point-to-point type of transitions is that as you instruct students to complete a step in the transition, you set not only a beginning, but a stopping point, and you do so in advance, so that the activity never gets out of your control. The key to this technique is to increase the speed and orderliness with which things get done in your classroom. You want things to be quick and effective. Tightening up your transitions also means quieting down your classroom. If your transitions are quick enough, there's no reason they can't be silent. And this will help you avoid all types of distractions and arguing, squabbling, and keep students focused on the transition and doing it more quickly. Transitions are group activities, and peer enforcement will really help you in keeping your transitions tight. When your students start testing to see if they really have to follow the rules of the road, they should always find that they do. It's usually quite easy to get students to do transitions correctly. Since you're always right in the middle of something, you can try over and over and over and over again. And usually this is the ideal time for group responsibility. The necessity for efficient transitions applies just as much when materials rather than people are moving. Invest at the outset in teaching one right way to do it. Okay? So whether it be for passing and collecting papers, books, and other materials, there are a couple of rules of thumb, things that I think you should always be doing. Generally, pass across rows, not up and back. This avoids the need for turning around 180 degrees in chairs, an action that creates a golden opportunity for students to misbehave. In my classroom, material supervisors, right, the students who will supervise the distribution of materials, are chosen before we make pairs, before we make groups, before we do teamwork activities. These students should be selected and know what comes next. They know that they should come up to the teacher's desk, they should know the number of people in their group, and they should know what they're going to be getting, whether it be paper, board markers, erasers, dice, etc. Students spend a tremendous amount of time on transitions, moving from place to place or activity to activity. And this is time that they are not learning. So try to tighten up your transitions and increase your learning time.